Last time the important lesson was not just that we could bypass a blocked file. The real lesson was that JuiceShop was telling us how it made security decisions. It looked like a file access problem, but what it really gave us was visibility. Because once we pulled these files, we were no longer blind. We could see what the app depends on and which libraries it trusts. And once you can see trust, you can start testing where that trust breaks. So in this episode, we are going to take the files from the last video and use them like a map. So let's get to it. So in the last episode, I had already used the poison null byte bypass to access these files. Now this time, I opened those files again, and before doing anything else, let's understand why this matters. The file package.json.bak shows the application's declared dependencies, and dependencies are important because they are part of the application's trust chain. So when a developer installs a library, he is basically saying, I trust this code to run inside my application. So if that library is outdated, vulnerable, malicious, or even just suspicious, that becomes part of the application's risk. So the first question I asked was, is JuiceShop using any security-sensitive library that is clearly outdated? And when I looked through package.json.bak, one dependency stood out, the express-jwt. And this is interesting because express-jwt is related to JSON Web Tokens. So this is not just any random library, it sits close to authentication and token handling, and when something close to authentication is outdated, that is definitely worth investigating. At that point, I was no longer looking at a backup file, I was looking at possible proof for a vulnerability. But finding the suspicious library is only the first half. The next question was, if I wanted to test whether JuiceShop recognizes this as a real security finding, where inside the app would I report it? And the most obvious place is the shop's own feedback form. So JuiceShop already gives us a public place where users can send comments directly to the shop. So once I had a concrete library finding, the next logical step was to report it there. So I went to the side menu, clicked on customer feedback, inserted the library with its version as a comment, then I solved the CAPTCHA, selected a rating and submitted it. And it worked. Now after finding one vulnerable dependency, I stayed in the same evidence set, because when a file gives you one useful clue, you do not close it immediately, you keep reading. So I went back to the dependency information and looked for something different. So this time I was not only looking for outdated libraries, I was asking, are any libraries or patterns here not just outdated but fundamentally bad for cryptography? And that is where I found Z85. Now, Z85 is important to understand. Z85 is an encoding format. It turns binary data into printable text. But encoding is not encryption. Encoding is reversible. It does not provide secrecy by itself. So, if an application treats something like Z85 as if it protects data, that is a bad security decision. But here's the important part. Just seeing Z85 did not automatically prove that JuiceShop was using it incorrectly. It only made Z85 a strong lead to test. So I used the same idea as before. I went to the customer feedback. As comment, I inserted Z85, solved the CAPTCHA, gave a score and submitted it. And guys, it worked. After testing Z85, I kept going through the same dependency file. But at this point I changed the way I was reading it. So at first I was looking for outdated versions, and then I was looking for crypto-related libraries or patterns. But sometimes dependency review is not only about versions and algorithms. Sometimes the risk is in the package name itself. Because in supply chain attacks, a package can be dangerous before you even look at the code. It can be dangerous because it was made to look like something else. So the next question became, are there any dependencies here that look like they might be trying to imitate another package? That's where typosquatting comes in. typosquatting is when someone creates a package, a domain, or a file name that looks almost like a legitimate one. So the goal is that the developer trusts it without noticing the difference. So I went back to the package.json.bak and kept reading, and I found a Node.js library called epilogue-js. So this package was heavily outdated and, more importantly, was notable here because it points to a legacy typosquatting issue. So again, I tested it through the same reporting flow. As comment, I used epilogue.js and its version, solved the captcha, and submitted the report. And it worked. After that, I stayed in the same dependency file, but I changed the question again, because with epilogue.js, the concern was package identity. Does the name look suspicious? Or could this be a typosquatting case? But supply chain risk can also come from packages that look completely normal. Sometimes the package name is legitimate, but a specific version was compromised. So now I was not only looking for suspicious names, I was looking for packages with a known malicious history. And that's where this dependency caught my attention. So this one was interesting because when I searched for it, I found that this version was connected to a malicious package incident. And that is a different kind of problem. This is not just an old library or a package whose name looks suspicious. This package was connected to real malicious code. That matters because supply chain attacks often do not start in the main application code. They start in trusted packages, in development tools, in things developers install because they assume the ecosystem is safe. So once I had the evidence, I went back to the contact form again and submitted the findings. And as you can see, it worked. After that, I wanted to look beyond the backend dependency file because JuiceShop is not only backend code, it also has a frontend. So the next question was, where can I find frontend dependency information? So while looking at the application, I saw that the website uses Angular, and Angular applications often include a file that lists third-party licenses. One of the common files for that is this one. So I checked whether JuiceShop had that file available, and it did. Then I started reading through the front-end packages, and after some time I found this here, the ngy-cookie. That name looked interesting, and it looked like either a typo or another typosquatting case. And typosquatting in the front end is just as important as typosquatting in the back end, because front-end packages still become part of the application. So they still run in the user's browser, and if a malicious package makes its way into the front end, that can become very dangerous. So I treated it as another supply chain clue. I went back to the feedback form. As comments, I used ngy-cookie, solved the captcha, and submitted it. And as you can see, it worked. Now, up until now, we have been looking at dependencies and package names. But websites also have something else that is important, which is official disclosure. These are places where a company can publish security information, contact details, vulnerability disclosure instructions, and so on. So, I started researching how websites commonly publish security disclosure information, and that led me to RFC 9116. RFC 9116 defines a standard file called security.txt under the well-known directory. Now, the security.txt file can tell researchers where to report vulnerabilities and where to find more security information. So, I checked whether JuiceShop had this file, and it did. Inside that file, I found a reference to CSAF, and CSAF is important because it can describe vulnerable products, affected versions, references, hashes, and other advisory information. So I tried to access the CSAF directory, and inside there were multiple subdirectories and files. So I started by looking at the 2017 directory, and inside it this file immediately stood out. That was interesting because earlier in this same video we had already found the express-jwt in the backup dependency file, and now inside the official advisory area JuiceShop had a file related connected to express-jwt. So this connected perfectly. The backup file showed us that JuiceShop used express-jwt, and the advisory trail showed us that JuiceShop also acknowledged a security issue around express-jwt. Now, the file extension here is also important. So this is a checksum file. A checksum is used to verify integrity. Basically, it lets you check whether a file is exactly the same as the one that was published. So if the file changes in any way, the hash will not match. So when the hash matches, it means the advisory file I downloaded is exactly the same file JuiceShop published. As you can see, in my case, it didn't change during the download. So I went back to the feedback form and submitted the hash. Now after that, I moved away from the dependency files and started looking at the front-end JavaScript. And while taking a look at main.js, I found this endpoint. Now, that immediately looked interesting because an endpoint with admin and application configuration sounds like it may expose internal configuration data. So I accessed it and it returned a lot of information. But one thing caught my attention. There was a product that was unavailable because of lack of safety standards. That already sounded like something worth investigating. But then below, I saw an even stronger clue. Keywords for paste-in data leak challenge. And under that, there were two values. So at that point, I had a leaked product clue and the exact dangerous ingredients connected to it. So I went back to the feedback form, I pasted the ingredients on the comments, solved the CAPTCHA and submitted it. And it worked, guys. And this is a good reminder that leaks do not always look like passwords or API keys. Sometimes the leak is configuration data, a product detail, or a keyword that points you towards sensitive information that the application should not expose so directly. And that's it, guys. I hope this helped you in any way, and if it did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel for more content like this. See you next time, stay curious and stay safe. Bye bye!